You already know what it's going to be. It's going down in a few more seconds. Valencia Real Podcast. Let's go.
What's up, fam? It's your boy, Dr. Mike, and it's almost that time to get real, raw, and relatable. Looking forward to talking to y'all soon. Peace.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Terrence. Welcome back to another season of Relentlessly Real Podcast. So excited to have you all back. We got a lot of great stuff. Check us out.
You're now listening to The Real.
Man, I appreciate them dudes for talking about
The Raw.
Wait, they were talking about
The Relatable.
That's exactly what I've been going through.
The Relentlessly Real Podcast.
All right, welcome to the Relentlessly Real Podcast, where we discuss real, raw, and we discuss relatable topics. Thank you so much for taking time to listen to our podcast today. We're going to kick this off with some introductions, as we do always. My name is John.
My name is Mike.
And today I am Pavlov's dog.
Well, I don't even know where to begin. Why?
Okay,
Why are you Pavlov's dog?
Whose dog is
this? Okay. So, I'm going to wait for our special guest to talk.
Okay.
Because I talked to several people, and they all said that they know what Pavlov's dog means and what it refers to.
Okay.
And they also said that, John, you were emphatically wrong. Just want you to know that.
Emphatically wrong about what?
About classical conditioning. They know when I say Pavlov's dog, it's referring to classical conditioning. So I'm
what was I wrong about?
You had no idea of who Pavlov's dog is.
So what was I wrong about?
You had no idea.
Right. Both Mike and I had no idea.
And Mike here, doctor, so I'm all judgment. Pavlov's dog and classical conditioning.
This is what we're not going to do at the beginning.
We are going to do it. And
we're not going to do this here.
I can't believe we're starting in
front
of
like this. Wait, y'all going to do that in front of the company, really?
No, that's what I'm saying. He airing us out. I'm like, first of all, we were just on here. You could have said that before people got on here live.
No, I wanted to say why you were on here.
Oh my gosh.
So listen, guys, we have a very, very special guest in the building. We've been talking about it. If you've been following us on social media in any capacity, honestly, we have been doing our very best to push this young, beautiful lady all the way from California, and I will not introduce her. We will allow her to introduce herself. So please let everybody know who you are.
Thank you guys so much. I'm honored. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you guys for the invite. Hey y'all, I'm Char, aka Says What She Wants. I am a certified counselor. I'm also a relationship advisor. I'm also a intimacy advisor, if you will. Most people know me as being an advocate for men, but I'm also a sister to women. What I do is I encourage men, support men, and put information out there for men and women, so that way men can be a better woman to their men, but also men can, kind of more so catch on to what some of these women are up to.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So we are very excited, and we are going to work through the little sound issues that we're having right now. But we are very excited about having Char on the podcast with us today, because her content is explicitly for, I would even say, relationships and just couples. It helps, I think, derail big problems that could happen in relationships if you listen to the content. And she's been on TikTok for a minute, just saying all the things. And so we were like, we got to bring her on the podcast. Well, I won't say we. I'll say Terrence was like, we got to bring her on the podcast. And I agree. And Mike agreed with that as well. So before we jump into the topic, the main topic, we want to ask one quick question, and then we'll go from there. Okay. So my question of the day is real simple. Guys, if one of us got into a fight, would you jump in and help, or would you walk away? And I'm talking about as it stands right now. We're out. We're at a bar. We're at a lounge. Somebody bumps into me a little too hard, or Terrence a little too hard, or whatever, right? And then Terrence is like, man, all right, it's cool. And then he pushes Terrence on top of that. Now they start fighting for whatever reason. Mike, Char even. Do you jump in for your boy T, or do we just say, you know what? It was really nice meeting him. I'm gonna go ahead and go back to my car.
Let the record say that I was the one who's getting beat up. He just
I'm
had
throwing them.
Right.
I'm throwing them. I'm throwing them, and I got it on me, so I can't make no promises. You understand what I'm
Jeez. Hey. She
Thank
with
you.
it.
at all costs.
Golly.
Oh, you gonna protect? Okay, you gonna protect? Okay,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
what you say, Mike?
So I'm gonna stand back for a second, right? Because no. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. So
I'm
if
getting
somebody-
my ass whooped.
no,
wait,
if
count
Terrence sitting
down.
here- if Terrence is sitting here in a
Ooh.
fight one-on-one with a dude, right? I'm gonna stand back and I'm gonna watch the surroundings, make sure that nobody else jump in it. Because I mean, you a man, you're gonna have to handle your own, right?
Okay.
Every situation
hold me
comes
back.
up like that. You got to do a one-on-one. But if somebody tries to step in, or if I see like something crazy about to happen, then obviously I'm a still off on somebody, and I'm gonna get you up out of there. You feel me?
I
So,
appreciate that.
I got you.
I like to steal off on somebody. I like that.
If I'm honest, I'm gonna have to be honest,
Run
and say I'll have
away.
to go with my I'll be going to my car. You know, I was like, sometimes you gotta fight the battle on your own. Some things you gotta walk alone in life, right? Some things you gotta do on your own. God doesn't always want us to always interject. He says the battle is not yours, it's the Lord's, and that's what I'm gonna go. I'm
Don't you do
It's
it.
not the Lord's right now. I'm getting whooped. Like, I'm getting
oh, yeah, I forgot. It's
Why
you
did I
getting.
think he was going to the car to get the thing, but he was going to the car to turn the other cheek? What?
and to go home. He's going home.
I'm
Now you know
leaving.
what? Everybody play their part, right? So
all there.
John's in the car, like, hello, yes, there's a fight going on at a bar with a large
on the
bald
phone
black
with the
man, and
police.
he's getting whooped right now. Can you please hurry up? Oh my gosh,
would do that.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
I would do
Mike
that.
trying to hold me back. I'm like, let me out.
Yeah, no, I think it's true that we all would try to interject and help out as much as possible. Especially if Terrence is getting his behind beat. I think the best thing for us to do is to be like, yo, I got your back. But at the end of the day, somebody has to call the police and somebody has to be able to write the report. If we all got black eyes, like Kevin Hart's joke is, we can't see to tell him who the suspect was. Somebody has to see what's going on. And that's me.
Listen.
I got your back in that regard, bro.
You don't.
Listen,
You're
my
in the
boy
car,
Seth
John.
know what it is, man. Look at that.
You're
my
not even
my
going
boy
video
Seth.
recording.
Yeah.
I might
Jackie
video.
with
I might
John.
go live. I might go live. The oh my God, world star. No, I'm just, I'm
Oh,
just-
No, let me
Are
tell you
people
something.
still saying
I-
world
Trying
star?
to get the views up.
I know John. John, it's going to come up at our next event. Yo, this is when T was getting his ass. Look. I got it. Look.
Yeah.
Hey, yo,
Look,
it's gonna
wait,
come
wait.
up in his photos as a memory. It's like, yo, remember
Exactly.
that time when?
It will.
Fast
It will.
forward to the 17-second mark. This is when he stole you right in your jaw. T. Like,
At the end of the
You
day,
ain't
I
get
got my
license.
boy T, I got my boy Mike, and even our new friend Char. We all have each other's back, especially. And the reason we wanted to start a little light is because I'm pretty sure it's going to get a little bit heavier as we go throughout the conversation today. So if you have been following our marketing over the past couple of weeks or days, we've been really talking about, hey, woman, because we got grammatically corrected. Okay, so we want to make sure we say this correctly. Woman, be my peace. Woman, be my peace. And the reason we wanted to start this conversation off is because we see a lot of times on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever, everyone's talking about this idea of, what do you want? Men saying what they want out of a woman. And the very first thing that they say is, we need her to be our peace. And we kind of wanted to dive a little deeper into what does it even look like for a woman to be a man's peace in 2022. And I know you have some things on TikTok that are even more so salacious, and we'll get there. But we definitely want to get started with the conversation of, are women, and I say this with all respect, but are women even, one, supposed to be men's peace, and then two, can women be men's peace?
Okay, so thank you so much for asking the question, because so my ideology on it is that you have to build your own peace. But even in building your own peace, if you're in connection with somebody, if you have a spouse or a person, they should add extra layers to that peace. So if they're not adding extra layers to that piece, then there's something that's going to be off. But I ultimately think that everybody should build their own piece, just because, that's something I've created for myself, and so I know what that looks like. But at the same time, yes, the woman that you're in cahoots with, shall we say, should be your piece in some sense.
Cahoots. Yeah, I got you.
Cahoot. I mean, I'm a writer, so I use all kind of little colorful words, if you will.
I got you.
Yeah. So,
Hey,
in the idea of them being your, I'm sorry, I want to ask a little deeper.
Yeah.
With them being your, what does that look like? How does that flush out into a relationship with a man and a woman?
So that, to me, that when she brings peace, she makes sure she checks on you. She's making sure that your mental state. She's making sure she checks on your mental state, your emotional state. She's making sure that you made it to work. She's making sure that everything is done around the house. You guys live together. She's making sure that you made it to work. She's making sure that your lunch is prepped when you come home. That the atmosphere in the home is already peaceful. The environment in the home should already be peaceful. She should set that tone before you even get there. All she needs to say is, "Babe, everything's set for you. Make it home safe."
Is that something that's still really? I'm sorry. Last question. I'm sorry. All right, Mike. I'm sorry. You can jump in.
No,
Is that still realistic? Because a lot of what I'm hearing is the roles have changed over time. This sounds very traditional, right? And I'm not saying you're incorrect in what you're saying, but I'm literally saying we haven't redefined the roles since roles have changed, right? So roles have seemingly changed in the sense that women, check in on them, make the lunch for them, make dinner for them, clean the house, like because they're also cooking too, or whatever. So with all that being said, was that even what we should expect out of women in 2022?
It's not even that the roles are being replaced, if you will. It's the fact that you guys already carry, and it's not even nowadays, it's just the overall fact that you guys carry so much weight of the world on your shoulders. You have to make sure the house is taken care of. You have to financially make sure the house is taken care of. You have to make sure your wife is emotionally taken care of. You have to make sure you go to work and you take care of your responsibilities there, yet you have people pummeling you with work, pummeling you with projects and tasks. So at the same time, like, I understand that women want y'all to be their piece as well, but we're talking about the guys right now because you guys carry so much. Therefore, we have to uplift you, support you, and encourage you, because that's what's going to make the world a better place, because you guys are the ones that carry the weight of the world on your shoulders.
So I'm trying to figure out how to ask this question, because I'm sure there are people out there, whether men or women, and that have experienced this firsthand, where it's like, realistically, for their household or for their relationships or the relationships that they've seen other people in, they don't see that happening, right? So for those where they're I guess their dynamics are somewhat different, because you mentioned a few things about, like, as far as supplying that peace, right? Or like being able to cater to a peaceful household, or peace to your man, or your spouse. Like you mentioned, like putting food, making sure like food's on the table type thing, or like the atmosphere that he comes home to is a peaceful one to come home to. For those where like gender roles are kind of manipulated in a way where it's like it's not traditional. What does that look like? What does peace look like at that point when gender roles are kind of flip-flopped, or even like, not your traditional sense?
This is where we have to start thinking for ourselves, because every connection and every dynamic of a connection, every relational connection is going to be different. Therefore, what looks like peace to somebody else may not look like peace within your connection. And so the peace, honestly, that you two create within your connection, or 3 or more, I mean, everybody has I don't judge, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it comes down to what you guys create for yourselves, what works for you. Because what works for John and his spouse, what works for Mike and their spouse, it's going to work for Terrence and his spouse. Because we all bring something unique to the table, because we're all unique individuals. But I also want to say is we can't allow society to rule our homes. So we look at something on the internet, we look at a video on the internet, we look at a meme on the internet, and we kind of, sometimes it subconsciously gets to there to where we feel like we should be, acting in a certain way or having things a certain way based upon that. You have to learn how to think for yourself within your own connection, because it's going to look different to everybody.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and it just seems like going to that point a little deeper. I'm always perplexed with where we get how we are as a couples or whatever, where we get these things from. Where is the root or the, the anchor of where we are like, no, like for instance, with like one of the people here said this is definitely a subjective topic because we are no longer in traditional gender roles in 2022, right? So with that being said, though, it seems as though back previously years ago there were gender roles that people were okay identifying with, and it seems as though when those gender roles of old are reintroduced in 2022, people aren't okay with it, right? And I want to kind of dig to like what's the why in that, like why are we so resistant to that? Because if I'm honest, I've seen a lot of relationships where in the dating mode it looks different than in the marriage mode, right? So like you'll see that we'll do things in dating that we won't do in marriage, but then when we're married, those kind of things kind of get off the table or whatever because of whatever reason, right?
And I've heard that too, but not all women and not all men flex it in that way. So some people, for the most part, the men will do what they did to get her. Some women will do what they did to get him. But at the same time, like I said, it depends on that connection. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of times nowadays, what happens in society has elevated women over men, if you will, and kind of tried to demasculate you guys. You know what I mean? And so what happens is we have the year of the bad bitch and the boss bitch, and so therefore a lot of women nowadays, because they're making a certain amount of money or because they have a certain status or because they have certain clout, what they'll do is they'll look down on men, including their own. And so you have this where where she thinks she's better than you almost. So that's that's a really big thing, and it has to do, I call it the Meg Thee Stallion and Cardi B mentality, where they think that men are supposed to pay for the bag. They're supposed to pay for their girls' trips. They're supposed to pay for lunch. They feel like everything financial, you guys are supposed to do. And it shouldn't have to be like that. But also you have music. They watch a lot of women nowadays, they watch a lot of reality TV, and they have to realize that this is entertainment. This is not your life. Stop trying to make entertainment your life. Even to the stars that star in that role, that's not even their life. This is television. This is entertainment, if you will.
Entertainment, yeah.
And it also has to, and really quick, it also has to do with the kind of music that these women listen to. If your woman is listening to Meg Thee Stallion, Cardi B, City Girls, and stuff like that, then they're going subconsciously, for most women, they're going to start to think like that. They're going to start to think they should tuck their pocketbook away and use your money. They're going to start to think that they should have the bag and that you guys should also buy them bags.
So one of the I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in real quick, and then you got it, Mike. One of the guys on the thread said, "What if the spouse's parent did not train for marriage? Like, what if the reverberations of that, right? So, like, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Char. I believe that we get a lot of our relational sense from our parents and what it looks like to be relationships, right? So what if we didn't see what if we didn't either see it, like let's say it's a broken home, or what if we did see it and it wasn't a healthy one? Where do we get those positive reinforcements,
So, and I can speak to that because I was raised by my great grandparents, so I got moral standards, manners, and good manners, basically. And so it wasn't, and back then there wasn't a lot of affection. Back then it was the woman serving in the home. There was a lot of bit of that. There was a lot of that.
That was a form of affection, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
But at the same time, as I got there, what I did was I taught myself. I had to teach myself. This is something I can speak to these things because I went around the tree a couple times before I learned it. And so I taught myself how to be attentive to my husband. I taught myself how to be his peace. I taught myself how to be quiet. Ladies, learn how to fuck up sometimes. Can I say that, you guys?
Uh-oh.
Ladies,
you said it.
Learn how to be quiet sometimes, because a lot of the time, so many arguments and things can be saved by just being quiet sometimes. Sometimes he just needs to woosah. Sometimes he just needs to think about things. He just needs a little safe space, a little quiet time. But he's already going through it in the household. He's already going through it at work. And then here you come. Here you come. So then he's being pummeled by your words. And then if the woman really hasn't dug out her own stuff, she's gonna mentally and emotionally and verbally abuse him.
Yeah. I mean, even in the sense of to what you're saying and to your point, it seems like there has to be a certain level, and this is, and I want to be clear because I think sometimes we get men, women pitting against each other, and when this is not the goal, we want to expose or uproot certain things, let them surface
Right.
in the conversation, because we think it will give us some sense of healthy dialogue to get better, right? So as we dig deeper into the idea of even like a woman, because this is why we brought you on here to get a sense of understanding, how does a woman get a sense of knowing herself? Let's say she's
Okay.
married already and she didn't do that work before marriage or whatever the case may be. At
Right.
this point now, how does she do that?
Okay, so that's the thing where we have to, even though ladies, it doesn't, and this is for the guys too, but I'm speaking to the ladies specifically right now. Even though it doesn't feel good, and even though we may not want to dig up that stuff from 2 and 3 years old and 4 and 5, that happened, you have to revisit those things. You have to feel it. You have to deal with it. If you go to see a counselor, for me, what happened was I journaled myself free. So I'm writing a book right now. It's called Journaling to Freedom. And so what I did was I journaled myself out. I went through and wrote out those hurtful things, those things that were so deep inside me, that were ingrained inside me, that had changed my emotional and psychological dynamics, because they were hurting my relationship. They were hurting me in my everyday life cycles. So, we have to accept what happened to us. And yes, it hurts, but you have to feel in order to deal, in order to heal.
And Char,
I like that.
I would love for you to, because you have a unique lens, and I hope I'm okay in saying this, but you have been married before, right? And so can you speak to that? Like, so being someone that has been married, you're not, I think it's important for our listeners to be able to understand the lens that they're hearing this information from. Because the lens could easily be somebody that has never dated, and they're like, who is this person telling us how to date and be married, right? But you
Right.
have been married. So I think that lens can provides
Right.
better context.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I was with my high school sweetheart. So we were together from 16 up until 4 years ago. So I was with this person for almost 24 years.
Okay. Say you were with them for how long? I'm sorry.
For almost
24.
24 years. So I
24.
learned a lot. I
Okay.
learned a lot of do's and don'ts, a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom. And it wasn't, yeah, go ahead.
No. That I was just listening to what you were saying. You learned a lot about marriage, and some of the listeners that came on a little bit late, they were wondering just your credentials about the topic. So can you give a refresher on that? Just some
So
information about that.
I'm a certified counselor. I'm also a relationship advisor, but I have also gone through a relationship of 20 plus years.
Right. So one of the things that I see on here, I asked the question, is a woman cooking even a form of affection anymore? And the answers to some people said were yes, that and some people said apart. My and I see your hand up, Char, so I'll let you go first and I'll go after you.
Just because that they want to know if that's a form of affection. What can be a form of affection to one is a different form of affection to another. So one man might see that as a form of affection, and that's where we get into love languages, if you will. So one man might see that as affection and acts of service, where another man is like, no, I want you to cuddle with me. I want you to buy me a gift. So that looks different to every person, no matter whether you're a woman or a man. So that looks totally different.
Yeah, I wanted to speak to that a little bit, just on like personal experience, right? And I've been married 6 years now, and what I've learned is that my wife Renee, she enjoys cooking, not just for me, but she just enjoys cooking in general. And I didn't realize that she utilized like cooking meals in the house as a form of showing affection to me, not just because she likes it, but because of the feedback that I've been providing her. So like whenever she has cooked a meal and I'm like, yo, this meal is bomb, like legit, like not gassing it or nothing like that, like legit, like it's bomb, like you should have your own restaurant bomb, so I give her those accolades, and that's kind of used as like a soundboard, if you will, to say, okay, he likes this thing, let me continue to do this thing for him.
Right.
And we got to be mindful of I guess the reason why I bring this up is because there was a point where I just didn't understand like that dynamic of her like wanting to cook for me. So just to kind of go deeper into this example, there was a point where I felt like her cooking meals was a burden like on the household, and like that was a lot of work on her. So I was like, yo, like you don't have to do this, like you don't have to cook meals, you know, I can cook or whatever like that. But at the time, at a certain point in our relationship, she felt like that was the best way that she can show affection to me. So by me telling her you don't have to cook, that that put her in a different like mind space, like mentally and emotionally, like, yo, like I this is the one thing that I get right. And now you're telling me not to do this thing. And I didn't realize how much that affected her until we had that conversation. And it goes down to like we got to be mindful of like the amount of communication that we're having with our loved ones, our spouses, to let them know, hey, like give them the accolades, let them know what you like, let them know what you don't like. Because I think Seth Stone has spoke about it earlier in the conversation. He was like, yo, if we're not giving each other peace, if we're not being that peace for each other, what we in it for? Right. So if we're in it to be like cohesive, to be like this unit, if you will, you know, we need to be able to have those open lines of communication, giving each other feedback of what we like and what we don't like, in order to like to stay happy, to stay at peace. So
To make sure
Awesome.
everybody's cup stays full.
yeah,
So like,
yeah,
so the one thing that I've like been learning, like I've been very public of how like I'm in therapy, and the one thing my therapist always talks about, and I've kind of even seen this about love language, is there is the love language that your partner receives, and there's the love language that you give out, that you distribute. And what happens is sometimes those things don't mesh, right? And so what happens is in those instances is that the partner who that's not our love language, because I'm like with Seth, like food is not, it's just not my thing. I honestly almost could care less. And what I'm realizing is what we then do is we kind of invalidate the other person, and we kind of say, well, you don't love me because you're not packaging it in the way that I receive it. And I think being involved, that's a wrong statement, because what happens is this: even though you're sending it this way and it's missing me, right? Or it's not missing me, I can have a conversation to say, you know, I see that, but I really love you for you to show love this way. But what we end up doing is invalidating that person's attempt to show love. And when we do that, that's dangerous, because what happens is my therapist says you can, like Mikey was saying, you can talk about I receive love better this way. But what I still need to do is still recognize when you were doing that was your attempt
yeah,
to show me love.
yeah, yeah,
And sometimes we just say you don't love me, or we, like I said, or we minuscule their efforts. We, like, you know, we lower their efforts that they're doing, and they're doing it the best way they know how. And I think I just think it's a dangerous thing to do, to not recognize that someone is at least showing you love. It's different when they're not even making attempts to show you love versus they're making attempts to show you love and it's just not connecting. And
yeah,
I just something I had to learn, like, because I used to invalidate that. I did about, like, you know, like, because I don't need you to cook for me. It's cool. I like no.
Right.
Instead of dialing it back and realizing you may not need it, but you still need to recognize that when she did it, that was her way of showing it.
yeah, yeah,
And so, and I just want to touch on that real quick. And then another thing that you said earlier, sure, we were talking earlier, is about, we were talking about roles and whatever. And another thing I'm learning is that both men and women have traits of the opposite sex. Both men have a masculine side, and men have a feminine side. And I do understand that the thing about roles, but I also understand that sometimes we fail to embrace our side that's more like the other counterpart, and that does lead to also to issues in the relationship. And like the idea of being somebody's piece, to me, I do think we're supposed to be each other's piece. And I think also, as we down this conversation more, it is, what is your partner communicating? Because if your partner is communicating, I need you to be my piece in this format. I need you to do this in this format. And you're not even recognizing that need, and you're not even hearing that partner say that. That's the part I think needs the conversation. Well, not that you're not doing it, or you're not doing it, or that I'm not doing it. But if my partner is telling me I'm making their life more stressful, because I saw a comment before that you can give your soul in a relationship. I hear that. I just push back on it, because the whole purpose of why I'm here, in a sense, is to kind of to make you happy, and to kind of make you to want to please you. And I'm thinking the whole reason why you're here is to want to make me happy and to want to please me. If we're just chopping it up, well, I'm just not going to I'm not going to give myself to you. I'm not going to bury myself trying to please you. I'm okay with that. No, I'm not okay. I'm okay with that if it's a partner who is not reciprocating, trying to be there for you. Like he's not, like he or she is not reciprocating, but I want to be that for you. You know, I get that. But when you just like, well, I'm just not going to do it because I'm not sacrificing my all for you. Why are you here? Why am I here if
Yeah.
I'm not going to give my all for you? Like, like why am I here?
Hey, so I wanna go back to something you said about like, it's the way you communicate that love to someone, and if that's not like their love language. You said something around the lines, and it reminds me of like the analogy that came to my head when you said that was like, if if somebody got a cut on their arm or something like that, some sort of wound has happened. And you sit back and say, "Oh yeah, I want to be able to help you out. Let me help you by throwing some salt on it." Yeah, I don't think that's really gonna like help, but their attempt was there, right? They had the right attempt to try to help you. The mindset was to try to help you, but what in actuality they ended up doing was making matters worse, giving you more pain, right? Through that instance of like trying to supply help for the need. So it's super important that, like you said, going back in full circle about the like the communication that needs to happen, and communicating like, hey, like affirming, yes, you tried to do it this way, but this is how I really receive it, and making sure both things are said in the like both things can be true. I think John, you say that a lot. Like both things can be true. Yes, you attempted, but also this is how I really like receive love, and I would heal better that way if you showed it to me this way.
That was a lot. Y'all did a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Char. Did you have something?
I did. Okay, so a lot of the times what I notice is that we act out of our own love language. And so it's like a misfire that's happening when we act out of our own love language, and that's not our counterpart's love language. And so it's a misfire. But also, but also to what T was saying, he said he was talking about what peace looks like, amongst the connection. So what happens is, during different times, different seasons that we're in, what piece I may need from you is going to be different than let's say like, okay, I'm having a hard day at the office. If someone in my family passes, the piece that you bring to me, it's going to look different. I may seem more needy during that time, so I might need you to be more of my piece during that time. So it also depends on what kind of season or what kind of current situation we are in, mentally and psychologically, as far as what that piece from our counterpart means to us.
Can I ask a question? I'm trying not to be like a
Please just do it.
contrarian.
Please just do it.
Because I feel like being somebody's piece is the equivalent of a woman being a man's piece is the equivalent of a man needing to protect his woman. And I feel like we don't, as a man, we don't get to like, this is how I see it, and you people can correct me wrong. We don't get to say, well, I can't protect you if you don't protect yourself. No, you need me to protect me. You protect you. You want to feel like I'm protecting you. You want to feel that you are safe to me. Right. And I feel like a lot of times when not by all women, I want to be very clear. I do not think all women think that, but I do feel like there is a portion of when a person is saying like, I got this going on, I got turmoil, and when I come home, you don't make that better.
Right.
You make it worse.
Right. Right.
And my thing is, I feel like the same thing. If you don't feel safe when you go, as a woman, when you go to work and you feel like, or you're walking to your car and you feel like you don't feel safe, you feel like you are in, etc. And then you come home and say, it could be things that I'm not doing. Like I don't make sure the windows are closed. I don't like make sure the alarm is cut on. I don't, somebody broke into the home and I'm like, or somebody's in the home and I'm telling you need to go downstairs. Like you gonna go check it out, babe? You gonna go check it out? Like you would have an issue with that. And I feel like I just feel like sometimes we beat around like that. We try to navigate around that, the idea. And I love LaJohna's question because I think we need to answer it. What does peace sound like? What does it look like? What does it feel like? And I think the issue is, like Char is saying, it's going to be different to different men. It's going to be different to different people.
So
I just
then
don't
just
think you
describe
can.
it amongst yourselves then.
Yes, I think that
Yeah.
covers, but you can't ignore the argument or the complaint. And I think sometimes, as I'm seeing from different followers and different people, men are saying that it's being ignored. It's being like, nah, that's just, you don't really want that. It's just, nah, he's saying that. Like,
And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because as much as the information I'm putting out, like yes, be another layer of peace to him. Women, you have a lot of women who will say he should be my peace. He should be this to me. Well, how am I supposed to be his peace when he's in turmoil and X, Y, Z? The thing is that there's so many outlets and information out there as far as women's peace, women's mental health, and their psychological stability. But there are so few, far and in between, and next to nil outlets for you guys. So so ladies, like I understand what you guys are saying. Like, oh, he needs to be my piece too. We need to be each other's piece. Just know that this is a man who was a boy once, who was told to hush it up, not cry, not show emotion. An adolescent who was told to hush it up, not cry, not show emotion. A young man, and now he's a man, and now basically you're wanting him to do the same thing because where's my outlet?
That's
Men
interesting.
don't have safe places and outlets for the most part. These things are just being created for them. We've had this our entire lives, ladies. How many times have you seen the father cater to the daughter before the son? Because she's a girl.
So it's I like how you said like there's been a lot of information and stuff out there for women to help them discover what peace is and define what peace is. But it's kind of like, at least I can speak from my own experience. I had to figure that out for myself. And there were times where I didn't even know how to verbalize what that looked like what
Thank
it
you.
actually
Thank
is.
you.
So,
Thank you.
so for instance, if I come home and, I'm nonverbal, or like if I'm just, kind of shut off, or I go into a room, I close my door for a little bit. No, I'm good. I'm just gonna go here for a second. I don't know how to verbalize that. That's what I need in that moment. I just go and do. Or like, say if I sit down and I wanna play a video game all night long. I will play that junk till like 5 a.m. in the morning. Why? I don't know how to verbalize what that is, but that was something that I needed in that moment. But I just know I need to do this. And even
Right.
it was times where, like, say if it was, my wife now, or like, a past relationship where they say, yo, why do you play that game so much? It was like, I don't know. I just like to do this. This is what I like to do. Not realizing like this was like a moment of peace for me outside of all of that. Right. So yeah, I just wanted to give those examples to what you were talking about. It's like we don't always know how to verbalize or like identify what the piece is. Sometimes it's just it's within our actions and what we do that defines what that piece is.
And
one,
this is
one of my
the thing.
friends was saying that. Okay, no, you go ahead.
This is the thing I feel like also, ladies, we have to be mindful of, because I feel like a lot of the times, like Mike said, when he wants to go into that place where he doesn't know how to verbalize, or doesn't want to, or doesn't feel like he needs to, this outlet and this space, this safe space, it looks different to every single man.
Yeah.
So if it looks like playing a game for him, let him. If it looks like playing his keyboard or engineering, or if it looks like him taking a ride, or if it looks like him going fishing and him going shooting, you have, or if it looks like, if he's safe with you, if he feels safe with you, if it looks like speaking to you. And a lot of times, we judge men off of the safe space that they choose, but it's not our place. It's not our place. Whatever is going to make you guys better psychologically and emotionally, that's what we should allow you guys to do. And I know, because I used to do this. As a wife, I used to do this. I'd be like, no, talk to me. Like, why are you doing X, Y, and Z? I would literally criticize his outlet.
If you don't mind, even more so, I appreciate you sharing that. even
That's why
more
I'm
so
passionate
going
about this.
no, even more so going, and I'm glad you are, but even more so going deeper into that, because what I know a lot of us would benefit from is hearing those type of experiences from someone that has gone through with from a female to a male situation, like, right? So like you have been able to go through whatever you've gone through, and then you have the now mountaintop experience to be able to look back at it and see where things may have went awry, right? So what are some of the things that, if you don't mind sharing, within your marriage, you notice maybe in retrospect that you're like, man, I shouldn't have did that, or I should have
I
did
should
more of this.
I literally should have just been quiet more. I should have trained myself early on how to not be so impulsive. I should have trained myself to not be so controlling. I should have trained myself to learn how to see, like, have an eagle's eye view. But at the same time, I was dealing. We were kids when we got together. I was dealing with my own trauma. At some point, I wasn't dealing with my trauma. So it's like the earlier we start to deal with our stuff and dig it out and heal from it, then the better we're going to be later on for our spouse or our person, even for ourselves and the people that we influence. So if I can say anything, it would be to really, and also not to be so selfish that, because I used to make everything about me.
Mm.
I used to make everything about me because everybody calls us emotional creatures and we're the women, so we're the weaker vessel. No, it doesn't have to be about me all the time. How about I focus on him and learn what he likes and dislikes and what he needs? So that way, because this is the thing, ladies, when you uplift him and you support him and you elevate him, it elevates you. It elevates your kids if you have kids. The, like it's him, and then you, and then the rest falls underneath that umbrella.
It's not and honestly, it's not a popular thought anymore. And I gotta say this because just over the years, women serving their husbands is not popular. Women catering to their husbands is not popular. I've searched your channel, and a lot of what you were saying about this idea of take care of him, no serve him, no make his lunch, do this, check in on. These things are very unpopular, and I would dare say most women would push back to even that type of lens or vantage point. Talk a little bit about, just from your lens, what is the dangers of women not embracing that theology or mindset?
Well, what happens is, because even after my marriage, I had a few connections after that, and it's like, um, I found myself being toxic. I found myself being unattentive,
Mhm.
and so there's a danger in that, because what happens is you let good men get away from you.
Mhm.
I've had some amazing men in my life, but you know what I mean? Because I hadn't dealt with my own stuff, because I was being selfish, if you will. It just didn't work out. I'm more mindful now, but I'm also still growing now. I can tell you that I'm still growing now.
Mhm.
And it's a hard pill to swallow, but we really have to stop being so selfish. And the more you're unselfish, and the more you elevate your spouse, or your person, or your man, then the better that, like, all those blessings fall down on you, because the more stable he is, the more blessings that are going to fall on you, because you're the person that's receiving that.
Yeah, it's a weird thing that the dynamic has kind of shifted in the culture where we're kind of like we're resistant to hearing stuff like that, because we want our will or desire to be right is more important than our relationships being together.
Yeah.
It's
I
interesting, but
was.
it's really we want to be right
Mhm.
more than we want to stay connected and together. And so our
Yeah.
willingness to say I won the battle but lost the war.
Yeah.
Like, I won the battle though, but your marriage is gone. Like, I won the battle
Yeah.
though, but you don't
Yeah.
have, not speaking to you at all, but I'm just saying
Yeah. No.
in
Yeah.
just to the airways, like,
In general. Yeah.
legit, we want to win. And I think the issues that I see a lot of times is just that idea of like, but I want everyone to feel justified. I want to feel like whatever I said was heard and felt, and yeah, but at the same time, like you spoke to a lot about, one of the things you said a couple of times in this conversation is the importance of being quiet.
You have to.
And we
You
don't
have to.
put no weight. I mean, and women, that are listening today, please don't be like, let's try to not be offended, right? Try to just take yourself out of it for a second. Just say, let me just listen without me, because I think, and I'm not trying to speak in a way that's down on any woman. But I think a lot of times men try to, well, men, I know men that I'm around, but generally men try to do is hear even something that is hard to hear. Like we try to do it. I think it's sometimes women are not necessarily put in that place to hear something they don't want to hear and stay and sit in that a little bit. And I think there's a certain level of quietness that's important in marriage, but I would love for you to speak to that.
So, I feel like a lot of times, because even as children, a lot of us, especially in our culture, if you will, we weren't able to be heard. So as much as, like the man wants to be heard in our culture, the woman also wants to be heard. But like I said, in our culture, it just was, you were supposed to be seen and not heard, right? For the most part. And so what happens is both of us want to be heard. So both of us are kind of being a little impulsive on speaking, even kind of like I am now. I'm like, wait, you guys, I got it. But like, I listen, he ain't through with me yet. But it's so many times, it's like everybody wants to be heard, but at the same time, like how I'm writing notes down, like as you guys are talking, this is something that I've learned how to do instead of interjecting, instead of interrupting. I learned how to write notes. So even if you guys are having a discussion with your spouse or your person, ladies, learn how to, if that's you or you forget, I'll forget mid-sentence. So I learned how to write notes down instead of interrupting, because then he feels more like he's being heard. And guys, if that's something that, that you feel like you need to do, also do that. And even like during the day, if there are certain things that you guys want to talk about, like write those things down, but also like allow the other person to feel heard, because when we don't feel like we're being heard, this is for men and women, we feel like we don't matter, like we don't count, like we're not worth it to you.
So I think it's sorry, real quick, Terrence. I think it's interesting that you said you were writing stuff down. I didn't really notice it until you pointed it out, that you were writing stuff down within the conversation that we were having. And like, I just imagine myself, like, say if I'm having a conversation with my spouse and like she just pulls out like a pen and paper. He's like, okay, go on. And I'm gonna be stuck a little bit. I'm like, well, you taking receipts? You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna start thinking about negative stuff instead of thinking about the positive that you mentioned about like, yo, like I want to make sure like I heard exactly what you said. I want to write down some notes and stuff and make sure you get out, you're able to speak whatever you have in your mind right now. And then when it's time for my turn to talk, okay, I got my notes to be able to like have an actual conversation. Right. And
this
so
isn't
crazy.
for rebuttal, ladies.
The
notes aren't for rebuttal. It's to add communication. So I'm sorry, Mike.
Right.
Go ahead. My bad.
No. That's the point that I was trying to drive home. It's like it's so easy to, like when you're in the heat of the moment, say if it's a heated discussion or something like that, and somebody was to do that, to pull out a pen and paper, you'd be like, oh, you try to keep receipts. Oh, you're thinking about the negative instead of like the positive, and understanding your spouse's heart behind the situation. And I think that's sometimes what we forget when we say the I do. We forget about all the vows and how we got here in the first place. Like everything that I'm doing, you should already have in the back of your mind, like, yo, this person is supposed to love me. So let me look at it from a lens of love rather than a lens of like hate initially. Yeah, that's what I wanted to point out.
Flames on that one.
And I was gonna say, Mike, like to your point, I know this conversation is more so like about, like what, in a sense, what being an advocate for women. But I said, like, to me, that was I feel that I was so like was focused on being right and winning the argument, but at what cost? Like, and I had to like I'm learning that now, at what, like literally the cost of wanting to be right and wanting to be, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that is crucial, because I just think that's crucial of like not having to win the argument, especially if the goal is to like, and I'm very clear. I don't want I like what John said. I don't want it to be like an issue of. I'm hoping that the purpose of this episode and the purpose of this is to like make people better in relationships, right? And so I don't want to seem like, and I was cautious of the points that Kim made earlier. I'm not saying you should exhaust this for someone who's not showing up for you in any capacity. No, that's just stupid. If you know this person is not showing up for you, and this person is not like the person that you are with, just don't care about you, has demonstrated never like made moves to put you first as his partner or whatever it was. I think that's different. I see this failure that sometimes happens when sometimes when someone is trying to put you first, or at least in the best way they know how, and we focus on, but I want to win this argument. Like John said, I want to win this debate. Instead of going back to what Mike said, realizing, but wait a minute, like the lens, I know this person deep down like does love me, and one of the things that like, my therapist has said to me too, is said like we have so much grace for our friends, we have so much grace for our coworkers. When our bosses mess up, we give them grace. If we have people under us, employees mess up, we give them grace. We suck at giving grace to our partners. It's the one spot that there is no grace. There's no grace. Like it's just no grace at all for any. Like I'm not even talking about the big slip up. I'm talking about even the little slip ups. We have, and that's something that I know I failed at. Like no grace, and that my therapist checked me all the time. Like nah, like even something as simple I talked about last week. Even as simple as your partner said something wrong or communicated something wrong, and they're trying to come back and fix what. Well, I said this, but this is what I meant, and we're like, but nah, you said this week. But let the person fix what they were saying. Give them a chance to communicate. I said it like this, but I meant it like this, and I want you now that I'm saying it the right way. Can you at least hear me? And we're like, nah, I'm still stuck on what you said before. And I'm like, but you're not giving them any grace. Like, I just think that we don't do a good job of that.
I imagine the reason why people do that sometimes is because they've allowed this person to be so close to them and see like vulnerable parts of them. Forget the physical. I'm talking about mentally and emotionally, where there's this high expectation that you put somebody on to say, yo, you should never hurt me like this, because you already know that I don't like X, Y, and Z. You know that I react to this when you do X, Y, and Z. So the fact that you even took it there, it stings a little bit more. Right. So there's a higher expectation there. And then that diminishes the level of grace that we give our spouses. And in a sense, I get it, but it's not fair. Right. It's not fair at the end of the day, because that person is still a human being. Like human beings still make mistakes, and that grace is needed, especially for your spouses, man. Especially for your spouses.
And we're gonna go, John.
No, I'm not going to interrupt you, because I saw you every time somebody tell you like, oh, okay.
No, I didn't see it.
I'm not going to do that. I know how to let the host be the host. So you go ahead and talk. I'm quiet.
So okay, so Mike and Terrence, they were speaking of Pablo's dog. They were speaking of the lens of love. But also, you have to also realize, whether it's the man or the woman, if like you said, you were talking about the lens of love. If their love lens is covered by a lens of trauma, then they're more than likely not going to see it as love. They're going to be looking at the situation. They're going to be hearing it. They're going to be feeling it from a lens of trauma.
Yeah.
And I know, because that's what I used to do. So as much as we want them, go ahead, John.
No, you go ahead.
As much as we want them to see it through the love lens that we have created, that we're trying to, that we have gestured towards them, a lot of times, especially nowadays, because people don't like to feel and deal and heal, then they will look at it from from the lens of trauma.
Yeah. No, what I was going to say is too. Yes, I agree with everything you guys are saying on that point of trauma versus love and the lens of love. What I would say too is that the effort that's put into marriage kind of speaks to it as well, because I think what I know frustrated me oftentimes is you get in what you get into it, what you put into it, basically. Like you get out of it what you put into it. So you can't go to the bank and get money out that you don't have. You can't say I want $5,000 out of a bank you didn't put a deposit into, right? And the same is true for marriage and all that too. And even to further broaden or go deeper in that conversation, it's like, yo, there are so many resources today that we didn't have 15, 20 years ago. Podcasts are out now, books are written, etc. There really isn't any excuse for us to stay stagnantly the same way for years at a time, except that we just want to, and I feel like that's a lot of time what I see surfaces in marriages is like, yo, just the idea of like, yo, let me just go to a podcast and hear something from someone else's mouth that's not my own thoughts, and then and just without question try it. Like, it's not your own generated thought or idea, but just something that's like, I think a lot of times we like to filter. Is this for me? Should I do it? Should I try it? If it's just anything that's not your thought, and if let's say your thought ain't been working for years, it ain't gonna hurt you to use someone else's thoughts or thought processes to try to inject something different into your marriage to see how will this play out? How will this? But I think oftentimes it's just like we just kind of do whatever we've been doing, and that should be enough. I mean, what do you have to say to that, Char?
Sometimes you have to really take a step back and look who you're dealing with, because it's not all time. As much as that seems logical to most of us, sometimes I want to call it people's elevator doesn't go all the way up, or like, and and also you have to, like, the person that you're speaking to, that you want to communicate with, are they emotionally and psychologically even intelligent and stable in that time that you're trying to communicate with them? Because that also has to be taken into consideration.
Yeah.
So,
like, is the environment conducive to this conversation right now? Like, your attitude plays a part in it, where you are in the moment, whether you're, in the middle of a crowd somewhere versus, in a loud space, in a, what I'm saying, are there outside factors playing a part in this conversation where, like, you're not even going to be able to hear what I'm saying right now? Like, you all you're going to see is all the negativity. All you're going to see is X, Y, and Z, just because of like where you are. So it's a time and place for everything. I get what you're saying.
I feel a part 2 and 3 and 4 coming on, because also what the people the people that we are allowing to speak into our lives play a role. See what I'm saying? So if you have somebody that's ignorant, or somebody that you're confiding in that's basically ignorant, or that's not, that doesn't even have your best interest within your connection with your spouse at hand, and they're giving you advice, you could ruin your whole marriage, your connection with your relationship with this person, because this person doesn't even want y'all together, but you sharing X, Y, and Z with them.
Yeah, I almost want. I mean, this makes me really think about, because we were talking earlier. You mentioned, Cardi B and all these other various people, and you mentioned we also talked about Instagram, Facebook, whatever. It almost makes me feel like a detox from all those things, and what the benefits of that would be, in a sense of saying, hey, if I just give up all these things of outside influences, how would that deal with in a positive way? The marital things of life, like how will that be fruitful within a marriage? I'm just wondering, because I'm like, it seems like, I mean, obviously the things you listen to at some point, they start to flush themselves out into your life, so in some way. So between TV and phones and all of that, I'm just wondering how much impact those things have on your psyche and your thought process.
I wanted to give an example, right? I was literally just talking to a friend of mine about this last week. And so basically what happened is, the saying, they go down in the DMs, right? So it go down in the DMs. You ain't never heard it? Come on, bro. I was about to say, don't mess with me right now. Anyway, so try to make this long story short. He's in a new relationship with somebody, and what ended up happening was he had female friends that he didn't necessarily like used to talk to, but he has, talked to in the past. He's had like prior relations with them, not sexual, not, whatever the case. And they share memes and stuff back and forth. So like, something came up and he said, hey, I just wanted to share this with this person while he's sitting next to his newly found partner. So they see that he's texting somebody else, and it's like, oh, let me see what you got going on. So they see the thread saying like, hey, you sharing all these pictures, you doing X, Y, and Z. And they're just like, oh, well, I feel like this is disrespectful. You're trying to find validation in these other women that you sharing all these posts and stuff with. I don't feel as though that's right. And his mindset was like, yo, I've had these friends before you. We haven't had any type of sexual relationships or nothing like that, or I didn't make any attempts. I mean, worst case scenario, I'm a guy, that's a woman. there are parts of her that are attractive, but we never even took it there type thing. We're just cool. So the fact of the matter is, I said to him, I was just like, hey man, what does she be on social media a lot? Does she, do a lot of social media? Do y'all both do a lot of social media? He was like, yeah, she's on there. And I was just like, maybe you all should cut social media altogether, right? Because I could see how the things of the medias, right, whether it be the IGs, the Facebook, whatever, TikTok, whatever the case, even the entertainment and stuff that we take in on the TVs, on the podcast, who we're listening to, all these different things play an effect in like how we shape how our relationships are supposed to be. So let's take out these outside influences just to because I wanted him to consider like she might have some past relationships where like stuff had went down in the DMs, like they started in the DMs and then somebody ended up cheating on her. It started in the DMs and they ended up like sleeping around or whatever the case. So I'm like, yo, like take all of that out of the picture since to prove to her, yo, like these relationships, this social media stuff don't mean nothing to me. It's all about me and you. Let's build our connection without any type of outside influences. And sometimes you need that just to get all the noise out of it, right? Just get all of the noise out of the relationship and just focus on you and your spouse.
I have a question, and I want to. Well, you're gonna obviously.
I'll wait,
Yeah,
Jonathan.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I love the patience. I love the patience from both of you.
I'm right. Pavlov's dog. So the question I have is this, because I really want to make sure that we answer this on this podcast episode. We say women be my peace, right? And I want to know this is really for Char only, because she's the only woman on here that I know of. The top three like aspects of what it looks like for a woman to be a man's peace, in your opinion. Okay, so obviously there are the world has their variety of different ways of what that may look like, but from your experience and from your outlook on life, and just what you've studied through counseling, what have you, what do you believe are the three top things that hey man, women, you should really pay attention to this if you want to desire to be a man's peace?
Learn how to be quiet, encourage him, and initiate physical intimacy.
Strong list. Strong list.
Yeah, solid list. Solid.
Strong list. I don't have nothing to say. That was actually all I had. No, I'm just kidding. Good.
I agree. I had a question. I actually agree with her list. And hold
on before you ask your question, men. What do y'all think in the comment section? Please, what do y'all agree? Say your list one more time, Char, so we can make sure that they all heard what you said. But men, do you agree with what she's saying? Char, what's your top three again?
Be quiet.
Women, be quiet. Say it. Say the whole thing. Women, be quiet.
Women, be quiet.
Okay.
Women, encourage him, and women, initiate physical intimacy.
Okay. Go ahead, T.
I was waiting for the comments. I was going to say, because I promised I was going to not forget to ask this question. Char, what do you say about people who label you as a pick-me? That you're only saying this to get men to get likes and because you're only saying this because you're out here trying to get guys and you don't really believe everything you're kicking. You're just a pick-me.
You know what? It's so funny to me, and honestly, I have trained myself to have a certain level of peace. So honestly, it rolls off my back like a duck. Honestly, when they say so, it doesn't even affect me. They call me pick me. They tell me I have masculine energy. They stitch me all the time. They try to get me blocked. They say things all the time. But at the same time, I am passionate about this, and as you can see, like from our conversation prior and this conversation now, it's like I really am trying to I'm literally out here trying to make the world a better place. Because when you uplift men and when you encourage men and you support men, you make the world a better place, because ultimately at the end of the day, you guys have it harder than we do. So they can it's a compliment to me. But I'd rather be labeled to pick me and have masculine energy and somebody that's trying to get attention than somebody that's bitter, narcissistic, and unrealistic when it comes to relationships.
So I have to ask this question because you're the things you have said on this podcast, so aligned with a very popular figure who recently passed away from the world, Mr. Kevin Samuels himself. What do you think about Kevin Samuels from your own position? Is he right? Is he wrong on a lot of his ideologies on his platform? What were your thoughts when he was?
That's so funny because a lot of people like they have labeled me the female Kevin Samuels, if you will.
Mhm.
And and it's so funny because you know what? Honestly, I didn't listen to a lot of his content, but the
Mm.
content that I did listen to, I would say is 75 to 80% right. And but the thing is, you guys have to understand is that people because and this is the reason why a lot of people don't understand or don't get me or tend to criticize me as well because he gave it to you raw, he gave you truth, and he gave it to you without any filter. That's
Mhm.
per my name says what she wants. I it's not what other people think about me. It's not what other people say about me. It's what I feel is right and what my mission is. So if my mission is to uplift men and encourage men and be the advocate for men, then this is my mission. It has nothing to do with anybody else. If somebody is helped by it along the way, then great. But at the same time, I know what my mission in life is. So I don't listen to
What what
anyone.
what what do you think it is? I mean, what do you think it is that people have such a disdain against? It's strange to me, honestly. Every time we kind of dive deeper in these conversations, it's like it's even strange. I'm not gonna lie, it's even strange for me to hear you say I'm gonna advocate for men. It's strange on the ears
Mhm.
because we
Yeah,
don't. I mean, like, when's the
we
last
don't
time
hear it
any of y'all
often.
heard somebody say my sole purpose is to advocate for men? Because we're
No, no, no.
usually not
The last
considered.
time we heard a woman say it, because we can sit here and advocate for ourselves all
I'm
day.
not. I don't even hear dudes be saying it, but I
I
mean, you're
agree.
right.
But
Women,
because you
women
guys,
don't
you
say
know
it.
why? Because you guys always get pummeled. You guys always get beat down when you try to speak your truth. That's why.
And you know what? It's a very unpopular opinion. Okay, I'm known, Char. If you don't know, I'm known for saying a lot of unpopular things on this show. But I had mentioned, I told the guys, I had a couple. I think it was last year's Thanksgiving. I was last year's Thanksgiving. I went ahead and just wanted to get the table rowdy up, right? And I
What you
went ahead and said, you know what, guys, I don't know if you guys are done eating. I want to tell you guys that Kevin Samuels is right about every single thing he ever said. And they were just like, and I'm sitting at the table with like 10
Nah,
women
John
that were
gets up
like,
and go to get
oh,
dessert while they hash it out.
yeah, because I like to light the fire and then go walk away, right? And and so, but I have a lot of in my family, a lot of strong black women, and honestly, it's funny because men would think some of the things that Kevin Samuels would say, and we never felt comfortable saying it,
Mhm.
right? And the thing about Kevin Samuels, I'm not saying he is right about everything he said. In all seriousness, he said some things that I was like, "Yo, you went too
Right.
far on that one," right?
Mhm.
But there is a certain thing to say about, hey man, men be thinking things, and amongst themselves, they may not tell you women, but we talk. And the problem is, how many things do we keep? How many things that it starts off as just like small little things that we talk about, then now it becomes
Mm.
we're talking about everything with them because we can't talk to you.
Yikes. Yikes. Yeah.
And this is the thing, like, so many times I feel like in society it's acceptable for men to get treated in certain for men to get treated in certain ways, but yet if the same thing is happening to a woman, it's not acceptable. Like there are men out there that get verbally and physically abused, but nobody really wants to talk about that. That's something I talk about. That's something that needs to be talked about. I've seen it. I've heard it. I counsel people that are going through it, and also, like this isn't something that you guys deserve. And so but also a lot of times society controls the way people think. That for the most part, that's ultimately what it comes down to. Because what do you have all up on your screen? You have news pop-ups, you have Facebook pop-ups, you have TikTok pop-ups, you have Instagram pop-ups, you have your local news pop-ups, and what happens is all these things are basically as far as men, you guys are getting the brunt of the attack, if you will.
Mhm.
But women, it's like you guys are the scapegoat for women in a lot of ways because because people don't think for themselves and society has trained them to think a certain way. Just like if you look back in time, the 70s and 80s, it was a lot different. You had a lot of more homemaking wives, things like that. But now it's like the boss bitch and the bad bitch mentality. So therefore, they're uplifting the women, and you have all these different movements. But at the same time, where do you guys have your safe space? Where's your place in the world if all these movements and all these things basically uplift women, but they, tend to stuff you down, if you will. And also, they've demasculated you guys' voice.
Mm.
You saying some things here today, Shar. One
Part
thing
two,
to
3, and 4, bros.
one yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
One thing that I wanted to highlight a little bit was this right here: to be vulnerable without judgment. And I've said this before, and I know people like to. This is for all of us married people over here on here. People like to be like, oh, when John and whoever talking about whatever, they always gotta be talking about your spouse. Before I married her, I had other people in my life. Okay, so these comments are not always generated off the person you're with. Okay, so I want to
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah.
So to be vulnerable without judgment. Women sometimes teach you what not to say by their response.
Yeah.
Women teach
Yeah.
you what not to say by their response. They train you. Don't you dare say that again, which means I can't be safe. I can't be vulnerable. I can't tell you what I really feel because if I do, you'll negatively react to what that thing is. And then we'll have, and what fruit may fly from that, or who knows? And this is the point of the podcast because I'm like, what's the point of us talking if we're not going to be real? The reality is that women, if we are honest as a man and as men, you sometimes train us what we cannot say to you anymore, and you'll say, "Tell me the truth," and then we can't tell it to you because we already know how you respond.
Yeah.
And y'all
When
know this
when
is a topic that. Oh, go ahead. I'm
Mhm.
sorry.
No, real quick. When I seen LaJonica post that, I can't describe the feeling that I felt, but it was a lot of negativity that came off of that because it's not just about current experiences, but I think like within this conversation, I'm noticing there are past experiences and past relationships that just got unearthed with that one saying. And there's some stuff I know that I need to heal from, and some stuff that I need to probably talk to my wife about this afterwards, like to make sure that does not come up in the past, man. Because I can
It's
I can
hot in
list at
here.
least I can I can list at least 3 things that came to my mind when she said that, man. At times when people kind of they didn't say it directly, but they said it indirectly in a way of like, hey, you're not able to feel this in this moment. And that sucks, bro. That really sucks. Yeah.
Because, and this is one of the things. If you guys don't remember anything else that I say, ladies, when he finds that safe space in you because you've created that, and then you rip that from underneath him by sitting up there and using that information that so pertinent information and that vulnerability and that you rip the safe space underneath him. So don't sit up there and say like, "Oh, you can talk to me," when you set up there and you told your grandma, your mama, your cousins, your sister, and the internet
No.
about his
Yeah.
most deep thoughts
Mm.
and secrets that he's allowed you into.
Mm.
That's the reason why most men don't open them nowadays, is because either you or somebody from their past who was a female, and it could be a grandma, cousin, auntie, whatever,
I was
mother.
just about to say that it ain't even got nothing to do with
Yes,
spouses at this point. It could be
they
an
have.
aunt, it could be a mother, it could be a
Yes,
grandmother. Like,
yes.
yeah,
You can't use
And
it
I was going
against
to say,
him. You can't beat him up with it. You can't share that information. Even I don't even care if you guys have broken connection. Still keep that information safe because that's part of his dignity. Like, what kind of
Mm.
woman are you really?
Hmm.
and I'm just
come
going
on.
to
Can
add,
we add that to the list though? I'm sorry, real quick.
yes.
Can we add that to the list? Dignity, as far as like women being our peace,
I
like
would,
being
I, I
respected.
don't. I would
Yeah,
say respect
yeah,
more than.
yeah.
I think
That's
that's
what I
the
was aiming
umbrella
for.
it's under because I
Yeah,
mean, and Terrence, I'm gonna let you go, of course, but like that respect thing is huge in
man.
understanding. It's really huge. I mean, I really can't. And I didn't know how much it mattered till I
Whew.
got married. Like I really didn't know how much it mattered until I got married. I did not know how much it mattered until I got because respect
Yeah,
has iterations to it. It's not just the
Yep.
respect in that
multifaceted,
singular,
man.
but it's
Yeah.
multifaceted. It's in different areas and spaces, and
Mm.
then you have kids, and then they don't respect you. Like, oh, you don't, you just start losing it on every. Then the dog don't respect
Right,
you. He's like, you know
right.
what? I'm sick of this house. The dog don't even want to listen to
Not
me.
the
Go
dog.
ahead,
Jesus
go
Christ.
ahead.
You go outside, you see a bird on your porch. Why are you on my porch?
You go off on everybody, man.
So now I was saying to Mike and to Char's point, and actually really to John's point, I I really want women to understand is that the idea of what he won't say to you is
Mm.
formed while you guys are dating. A lot of times people and we miss that. It's not formed once you got married. And to counter with Char's point and Mike's point, not really counter, you also can be the woman to unbreak that. If he's had bad experiences, I couldn't share this with my mom. I couldn't share this with my aunt. I could share, but you've created a space where he can unapologetically say what he needs to say without you holding against him. You can unearth a lot in him and the son that you're raising to realize. So for me, that's a piece. Like John, you hit it. Like that's a spot where I just feel like I can honestly say what I'm thinking, how I'm feeling, and we can have a discussion about it without immediately taking offense to it, without immediately being combative, and we can have a discussion that I didn't say it even the right way, and you can say later on, hey, I heard what you said.
Yeah.
It'd have been received better when you said it like this, but I want to unpack what were you saying. I want to talk about what you were saying.
Because what you're saying is that you're allowing, and thank you for saying that, because you allow for it to be flushed out in its entirety. When you say, because like when we talk as guys, you guys already know, everybody on the podcast know, we are like actual best friends. We don't just like do this on Wednesday. We talk almost every single day. We flush out everything with each other. There's no interruption. There is no like, oh, let me stop you there. No, John, no. Get it all out.
It's moments where we're like, yo, no. Let him finish that. Let him finish that talk. Let him finish that statement.
Because he needs to get it. He needs to get this thing off of it. And and so this is a huge thing for a huge point to you. Thank you for saying it. Because I think it's not just a man to woman, man to man thing. It's just hey, we need to allow flushes of like, yo, because of what you said earlier in this podcast, Char, where you're talking about men being more marginalized in their ability to have conversation and being able to be heard. Now you're like, at this point, you're older and you're more astute about your feelings, and you may know what to say, but if you don't feel like it's a safe space to say it, you still stay quiet. And I heard a quote or a post and I loved it because it has some validity to it. Men go where they're respected. So they'll go to work and work overtime because they respect them there. Yeah. They'll go, you know what I'm saying? They'll be in areas and spaces longer where they're respected than when they're not. So it would behoove you to be like, yo, I'm gonna be a safe space because they want to be where they're respected. And if it's not with you, then they're going to be at their job. If it's not with you, then they're going to be on their keyboard or wherever they're going to go and unpack somewhere else where they know somebody like, oh my God, you're doing a good job. We gotta talk about this in a real way. Sorry about that, but thank you, T. That was an amazing point.
I'm laughing at Phil.
I'm done with Phil right now. You know what?
I gotta say, for anyone that's gonna hear this podcast,
I don't even have the ability. I'm gonna block.
Philip said, PSA, dear Black queens, these Asians and women are out here trying to be our piece. Part 4, LOL.
That's not our part 4. But I John, if you can, I also want to highlight what Jonica said, because I actually agree. I do agree that like being someone's safe space does not trump the person seeking therapy for their trauma.
That's right.
And I agree with that. But what I will say is that is where the piece comes in, because you are supposed to be the one spot that he can share it with.
There you go.
And you're the one spot he's dependent on to share this with. Like, I want to unleash everything I have to say to you. And I hear this pushback, well, it's not fair. It's not, well, that's the role you signed up for. It's literally the role that you signed up for, especially if you're choosing to be his bride, his wife. Or his whatever you want, you're in a relationship. And I feel like
you're his person. If you're his person, then you signed up for all of it.
Yeah. I mean, you guys know I'm not saying that therapy is not important. But I think we have become a culture that everybody needs to go to therapy, and I'm not saying that's not true. But I'm also saying, can we just also say, hey, you can have healthy conversations with your spouse too, and to be okay and not be, or whoever you're with, your dating partner, whatever. We just always want to be like, I'm sorry, I'm not saying everybody doesn't need therapy, but I'm not sure if I'm on a wave that everybody else is on that. Oh no, well, that means you need therapy. You need therapy. I'm like,
careful of the therapy train that everybody else is well, not everybody else, but you know what I'm saying, like the therapy train that folks are riding on. and using that as a scapegoat to say, oh, everybody else is going to therapy, let me go to therapy. When in actuality, you just need to have a conversation with your spouse. Like we can get all this cleared up. Yeah, or with yourself. Yeah.
I want Char to answer Kim's point. I think Kim had a good question.
Kim says, so what do you do when you ask to be that and he still chooses a different outlet or sounding board?
Okay, so a lot of times, Kim, what happens is it's due to PTSD from previous connections that he's had where they've used it against him or they've beat him up or they've shared certain information. So a lot of the time what you have to do, if that's really your person, then you have to really just you have to be patient. You have to be patient because there may be something that he's really working through where later on you're going to be that safe space for him, but you guys aren't there yet.
Yeah.
So it doesn't,
and
it comes easier for women because we just be talking. But as for a man, it's hard for them for the most part because, like I said, from adolescent to from a young boy to adolescent to young men to adult men, they've had to stuff it down, and also it's also in the place where she said not there after 10. Yeah, well, it depends, Kim, because what if he hasn't dealt with this stuff? What if he hasn't dealt with that trauma and that drama from his childhood? Then
also, Kim, this is not a therapy session, okay? You ain't gonna just get on the comments. Go ahead, Char.
we can't put a time limit on somebody's healing. Yeah. But you can also choose to whether you're going to be involved with that person, whether you're going to stay connected to them. Yeah. But at the same time, you don't want to put a time frame on their healing because we don't all heal at the same rate at the same time.
Yeah, somebody else said that too. And then, but can I? I'm like, I want to push because I'm like, I'm not because I feel like
you got to push.
I'm not.
You got to push.
If he does not trust you to be that sounding board, you're part of the PTSD he's experiencing.
Thank you.
I don't care how you want to cut it. What I think we need to do, and I'm taking this eternally. Let me just take it out of anybody else, even as the man. If I'm telling somebody I want to show up for you, I want to be this, I'm trying to be here, and the person is still not coming to this side, they don't trust me to be that. And so what I hate is when we don't have the mindset to do a root cause analysis. What could it possibly be about me that my partner does not trust me to be that? We want to shift it on something else when sometimes it's us. Like, yo, it's Terrence, it's you. Yeah. You are the problem. Like
you're looking around everywhere.
And that's
regardless of intentions too. Yeah.
That's where selflessness comes in at. Because if you're making it about you all the time, you're always going to have a problem with what he feels and doesn't feel. And that's just me being honest and feeling your energy right now, sweetheart.
Yeah, I want to say a lot because not a lot, but just a lot to what T was saying. T made a great point. We have to do, honestly, guys, seriously, we all have to do a better job of looking in the freaking mirror. I'm going to full stop there. Look in the mirror before you say what he's not doing, before you say how it's his fault, before you say he must have trauma, before you say what are you doing? What have you done? What we love to put the blame, pushing blame makes it easier never to resolve anything. Stop pushing the blame. Look in the mirror. I'm not talking to just you, Kim. I'm talking to the scenario. But I also want to say this. I feel like and the three of us had an unusual situation where we all met each other and we're kind of forced into this kind of bromance thing, where we were like talking more fluidly about our stuff, airing out our stuff more frequently. We if you guys don't know the history of this podcast, we were basically going to brunch to air out stuff about our relationships with our spouses, and we were like, man, this would be dope to make this into a podcast to help other men that have to deal with the same type of stuff. That's how this podcast came about. Yeah, so I say all that to say we had to learn how to have difficult conversations with each other and then moved on to hopefully at some point having better and more intentional conversations with our spouses. That was the point. So I'm saying for your husband, Kim, whatever the situation may be, it's like, yo, does he have a healthy group of men that he can flush out with first? Is that even in play? Because to me, that's foundational. even before your spouse, knowing how to communicate to another man, because a man will call you out on your stuff that a woman can never do. A man can listen to you talk, and Tino and Mike know we all do it to each other. We'll be sitting like, "That's a bunch of bull. I'm a man. I know you didn't do that, and I know you're wrong for this." And we will extract out like where you think you want to like dress it up. We aren't afraid to go there, and that took time of being brothers and friends for years before we got to the point where we were like, "Yo, let's uncover some stuff and unpack some stuff and air some stuff out in a real way." But who he's around has a lot to do with who he's become.
And I would say, John, with that, I actually think when it's done correctly, like I think to John speaking, when who he's around when it's done correctly, the guys he's around. I actually think the same thing could work with women too. If you have women around you holding you accountable, saying right things like, "Oh no, girl, actually you don't have this all together. You actually, I've known you for these years, and I don't think you do this well." And I feel like instead of being offended, like I feel like when John and Mike would tell me, "Yo, T, like this happened to me actually a few weeks ago. Like I made a major mistake. Like when I say major, it was major. And we were chopping up. Yo, John said, T, I don't understand why you're still here on this phone right now." Mike,
he literally said that.
No, I'm seriously. You need to get off. You need to go up. You need to fix that like right now. I don't care what was going down. That's the too line. You're too far. Go do it. Go handle your business. And what I'm saying is, I feel like in my experience, you have to have people around that's pushing you to hold you accountable and not just saying, "Oh yeah, well that's because he don't deserve you," or "Yeah, she don't deserve you. The reason why she's doing that is because she don't deserve you. You could do better." And just like that's always
that's a good word, T.
It's not always the case. Like it's just sometimes it's just I don't know. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. But I like it's the mirror. The mirror is important.
Yeah. So Char, I got a question for you. Do you feel as though it's a excuse me? Do you see that it's a common thing, like what we're talking about? Like you can see men in like circles like this, and then you see women in circles like the circles that they have. Do you think there's a issue there with like accountability? Do you think like where do you see the differences and where women specifically can be I guess more accountable or like better themselves in those circles that they build for themselves?
Right, and I'm glad that T has said that because that's what I wrote down too. Like, get rid of the yes men and the yes
Come on,
women,
notes.
because what happens is, no, for real, y'all know, listen. And so
say it again, Char, because I don't want you to brush past it. Say it again.
Yeah.
Get rid of the what?
You have to get rid of the yes men and the yes women in your life, because what happens is, if you have somebody that you're allowing that you respect and that you're allowing to speak into your life, if this person isn't giving you sound advice when you come to them with your life experiences and your life things that you're going through, what happens is it doesn't have to all the time, because we also have our own self-will, but at the same time, it can lead you so much astray to where you ruin your life or you ruin that connection that you have with that person that you're trying to get them to, that you're trying to get relationship advice about. So you have to get rid of those yes men and yes women. And also, LaJonica keeps on speaking to it, and I thank you for doing this. The words discipline and accountability, she keeps on talking about that, and that's one of the things, you guys, where I talk about this often. I don't know how many videos I've made about this, where it's like, and I'm speaking to the women because that's what I'm doing right now. But ladies, you have to learn how to take responsibility. You have to come out of denial in a lot of things that you do and you say. And you have to take accountability and responsibility, but you also have to what, guys? The A word. Apologize.
Lord.
Yep. I know. We almost at that, but at the same time,
apologize and like mean that, Joan. Don't just be like, "Oh, I apologize," or like, what I'm saying, do it out of spite or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There you go. No buts.
No buts behind the apology. You have to literally take responsibility for what you said or what you did and own up to that. And I promise you, it's not only going to help him. It's not only going to help him to see that you are a safe space. So it's going to build upon that, Kim, but also it's going to help you, because now you're a woman of valor and integrity and good character. And you're taking responsibility for yourself and you're apologizing. And that's what we need more of in today's world.
I'm sorry, I saw Jocko's thing. A was for abstinence. I thought A was for abstinence. I was about to say something really wild. I'm not even gonna lie. I was like ASS. I guess I was like, this is really
Hey,
weird.
John,
I
I
was like,
literally thought the same thing. I
I'm
was
not gonna
like,
say
that's
what I
not it.
thought it was
That's
for.
not
A
it.
is for ASS. No, I really appreciate this comment.
I honestly can
No,
I
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
can I just do this real
Yeah.
quick? Like I don't know Kim is, but honestly, I would love to like do one-on-ones with you for a month. I would give you a free 30-day one-on-ones because I feel your
Mhm.
frustration, and I know that you want to work on things that I feel like you're hitting at the same time, like as far as your person, and I don't feel like this is calling you out because I feel like you're an open person, but at the same time, I would love to extend one-on-ones for you for a month, like free of no charge, like because I really feel like you just need to be heard, Kim.
Mm,
So I
love it.
love you, sis.
Love
I
it,
love you.
love it, love it. You heard that. You heard it from Char herself, okay? And if you want, I'll give you a free 30 days too. I got plenty of things to say to you. No, I'm just kidding.
Nobody wants what you
Oh,
have.
they don't want it. Okay.
Nobody cares.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to help. I was trying to.
Man.
But in all seriousness, this is great conversation because, in all honesty, we're trying to understand. We are trying to understand. I think one thing that we all do often, like although we be on our group chats and all that, like the guys be at least, it's like, yo, we be trying to figure things out. Like, because as Terrence always
Legit.
says, we think one way and literally women think an entirely different way, right? They think an entirely different way. And so it's kind of hard for us to be able to understand. And I think, like you just said, accountability is so super important in saying, I'm sorry, someone just saying, you know what, I do that, and I apologize for that. How
Yeah.
much that one comment could have such reverberations in your relationship is uncanny. But it's like we want to say because we weren't taught that we can't start, and that's why that's the thing we have to start really dealing with. Just because you weren't taught it growing up doesn't mean that new things can't grow in the season that you're in right now. And we just want to be like, oh, no one ever taught me. Okay, well, just because no one ever taught you don't mean today cannot be a new day. It could be a new day for you to say, let me look within the mirror. And I say this to all of us, like we can all, men and women, look in the mirror. But I just know within our group or whatever, and just generally, men just be owning stuff. Now we may be owning stuff really quickly and maybe be trash at changing stuff. I don't know, but we'll own it. We'll definitely be like, oh yeah, I do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
We'll say it.
That was me.
That's me. I do that.
And
But
that's some men, not all men. But anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry, John.
no. But I was just going to say, like, with the women, like some of y'all already said on here, what's killing me is that there's sometimes women that are just constantly like feeding into the narrative of, no, it's him. No, it's not you. It's him. And it's like, no, girl, you're not wrong because you have the same ideology as her. Then you're reinforcing her things, even if it's not good for her. And I'm like, why would you do that? Like, it's like you really would do that just to keep friendships alive. But the answer to that question is yes. A lot of women seemingly would do it just to keep friendships alive. So go ahead, Char.
Again, it goes back to that emotional and psychological state. Like, where are you getting this advice from? Who are you? Who are you venting to? Who are you allowing to speak into your life?
Yeah.
What is the stability of their mindset right now, currently? Not last year, not last month when you were talking to them, when they were giving you sound advice. What is it currently?
That's good because you're growing and evolving and changing.
Yeah.
You hopefully aren't the same person you were a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So the one of the things I'm hearing Char say is reevaluate your circle today.
Come on.
Reevaluate who's speaking into your life today and see if that person is doing something that's, and I love how somebody said it. They said either your friendship is an asset or a liability.
Come on.
Which one are they? Are they an asset or are they a liability? Are they giving something to you or taking something away? And Char, you got the last word.
And if you're in connection with somebody that you're allowing to speak into your life, are they an asset to you, but also that connection? Because if you're an asset to me and you're not an asset to my connection, then you're not an asset to me at all. Because I value that connection.
Yeah.
If you want to keep it and you value it, the people that speak into your life will not only be able to have access to your life, but also to, you know what I mean? There's going to be things that are pertinent to yourself, but also your connection.
Got it.
Reevaluation, absolutely.
Got it. I love it. So, guys, you heard it. Miss Char, all the way from California. She spent an hour, more than an hour and a half with us because we were on here before the podcast started. And we want to say thank you so much. We are looking forward to bringing you back to have deeper and more robust conversations about these types of topics because we do want to get an understanding as men. And I think women, hopefully you do want to get an understanding of the men that you're with and that you're talking to. And that's what this podcast is all about, is having those conversations that are sometimes difficult to hear, but are going to be substantively helpful for your life going forward. That's what our job on Relentlessly Real Podcast is all about. So my name is John. Char, you have the last word before I even wrap it up. I'm going to make sure I wrap it up properly. Or anyone else have anything? But Char, of course, you have the last word.
You know, I'm honored, you guys. Like, really, y'all my new bros. I said it the other I'm serious. Y'all my new bros. But thank you so much. It was an honor. And like I said, I hope we have a part 2, 3, and 4, you know, whichever way that goes. And if anybody's looking to follow me or do one-on-ones with me, every single platform I'm on is Says What She Wants. I also have sayswhatshewants.com. If you need to email me to reach out, sayswhatshewants@gmail.com. And also, October 2nd, like tune in to Sundays. Wait, was it Chocolate Sundays podcast? Because I'm going to be in LA at the Laugh Factory.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
That's going to be huge.
Dope. That's gonna be
I love
dope.
it. Yeah, I love that. I tune in on your stream. Is that what you're saying?
It's going to be their stream. I won't do my thing, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be in West Hollywood on October.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, anything else? Mike, Terrence, Pavlov's dog.
Outstanding show, man. This has been dope. Char, thank you again. Looking forward to working with you in the future. And yeah, we can go up from here. This is only up from here.
Pavlov's dog.
I'm really just more curious, John, about what you was going to offer during your 30-minute session.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out.
All right, guys. You know Terrence don't know how to be appropriate.
I just
want to
know, like,
listen, I was going to offer my
P-Dog says it best. P-Dog said it best. Right here.
Guys, thank you so much for joining the Relentlessly Real Podcast. My name is John.
My name is Mike.
And I'm T.
And we'll see you next